joining me. I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. To start off, I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit. So my name's Alexi Delavine. I actually own a calligraphy business called Delavine Calligraphy. Um, I started learning calligraphy about 3 years ago, but I didn't turn it into a business until January. Um, yeah, so I've been doing it for a while, but not professionally. Um, but I thought it would be fun to come on to the library and share some of my knowledge with you guys because it's a own hobby. Fun fact about me is I actually have a background in library studies. I went to school to be a library technician. So tonight for me is kind of merging my two loves together, libraries and calligraphy, bringing them together and sharing it with you guys. So I'm really excited you're here. Okay, calligraphy for beginners. So you might be wondering the first question, what is calligraphy? I think the general conception is that calligraphy is fancy writing. While this is not wrong, there's so much more to it than fancy writing. In fact, a lot of calligraphers think of it more as a form of art than writing. That's because when you're doing calligraphy, you're actually doing basic strokes and you're putting them together to make the words. So we're not actually thinking of it of just writing with fancy flourishes. It's more like a puzzle piece where you're creating these shapes and putting them together to make words. So that's kind of the first thing is foundationally it is fancy writing, but even if you don't have nice handwriting, you can definitely do calligraphy. Because I know that's a block for a lot of people. They think my handwriting is messy. I can't do calligraphy. It's fancy writing. No. Any kind of writing you have, you can learn how to do calligraphy. Okay. So the foundation of any kind of calligraphy is that you are varying the thickness of your strokes. Like I said before, you're putting different strokes together, but for tonight's purposes, we're just going to focus on 2 strokes. And in a minute, I'm going to flip my camera and I'm going to go through those with you. But for now, I'm just kind of giving you the introduction rundown. So we're going to learn 2 strokes tonight, the upstroke and the downstroke. So an upstroke is any time you are going in an upwards motion. So anytime your pen is going upwards on the page, that's an upstroke. A downstroke, you can probably guess, is the opposite. So anytime your pen is moving downwards on the page, it's a downstroke. So the thing we need to remember about those 2 strokes, anytime you are going upwards, you want your stroke to be thin. And anytime you're going downwards, your stroke needs to be thicker. So if you don't remember anything I say tonight, the one thing I need you to remember is your downstrokes need to be thick. So down equals thick. That's the main thing. Okay, so the difference between calligraphy and a font, I'm just reading this from the group chat. That is a very good question. So for calligraphy, there are many different styles of calligraphy. A font, for example, like a font you would use on Word, like Times New Roman. So that would be a font. That's more of a lettering font because the letters each individually are that font. They are definitely similar, of course, but for calligraphy, it would be more styles. Like, for example, there's copperplate, there's Spencerian. So a font is more of a hand lettering term, which there's definitely overlap, but hand lettering, think of like block letters. Okay, yeah, think like block letters, bubble letters. So yes, there's definitely overlap, but hand lettering and calligraphy are different. So this is what modern brush calligraphy looks like. So you can see here is the upstroke, it's thinner, and the downstrokes are thicker. So we are going to be doing the same idea, just not using the fancy expensive brush pen. We're going to be using tools we already have. So we're going to start with pencil calligraphy. So let's just try some of the basic strokes. If we have an upstroke, we want it to be thinner. So you can see if you're using a pencil and you're not applying a lot of pressure, the line comes out very lightly. But if we switch over to a downstroke, I want you to put a lot of pressure. So press down really hard and it comes out very dark. So again, if you're moving up, you want light pressure, you want a thin stroke. And if you're going down, you want a lot of pressure and a thick stroke. So just try doing that a couple of times. Trying to put the pressure on as you're moving downwards. And the next step would just be start with an upstroke. So you're moving upwards and you have a light, thin line. Get to the top. I want you to bring it around. As soon as you start going into that downwards motion, start applying more pressure. So if you do it again, if you here, you're going up, pressure, thin line. As you bring it around, once you start going downwards, lots of pressure, thick line. So if you want to just practice that a few times and remember taking your time, this helps the muscles and get used to transitioning into that darker line. Okay. So if everyone's feeling okay with that, we were going to write the word library. So I'll just write out the word library, and you want your letters to be connected. So think of it like you're writing cursive, because you want them all to be connected in one big line. So I'm just going to write it normally, as if I was just writing it in cursive. So note library there. So the next step that I find really helpful, especially when I was first learning, is I want you to mark where your downstrokes are. So I remember here I was going upwards, but over here I'm going downwards, so that's the downstroke. So just put an arrow of the side where your downstrokes are. So again, for here is going down, and if you want, you can rewrite the word again, so you remember where your downstrokes are. So this is downstroke. And if anyone's being confused by what's an upstroke, what's a downstroke, let me know, and I can try and put it for you. Basically, anywhere you're going downwards, you just want to mark that as a downstroke. So like here was a downstroke, but then I came upwards. There's a downstroke. This one upwards. And this was down, and then this came up. So I'm going to mark that as a downstroke. That was an upstroke. Okay. So the reason I find doing this really helpful is I know where my downstrokes are. So when I go to write the word library again, I know which parts need that extra pressure to get the thicker line. So again, I'm going to start here. Light, upstroke. Around here, I know I've marked it as a downstroke. So I add that pressure. And then I'm coming back up for the eye. So I take off the pressure. Here's another stroke, so we put on a lot of pressure and then take off. So we're just gonna keep doing this and just using our arrows up here to tell us where to apply the pressure. But again, anywhere that a pencil is going down, that's where you want to have that extra pressure. I hope this is making sense. But if it's not, again, just let me know in the group chat or shout it out at me and I'll try and clear it up for you. I know I'm moving a little bit fast, so if it's so again, here's the downstroke, so I'm putting on a lot of pressure, and then we come up into an upstroke. So I use a lighter pressure. Okay. So there is our pencil calligraphy writing for library. And if yours doesn't look exactly like this, that is totally fine. One of the big things is your own style definitely comes out. So even if you're following all the same rules, it comes out a little bit different, and that's why we think form, because we each have our own style. So basically, as long as your downstrokes are than your upstrokes, you're on the right track. Okay, moving on. We're gonna do some faux calligraphy now. I hope the pencil calligraphy makes sense, but it's really just practicing that upwards and downwards movement and trying out the different gestures. So it just takes a lot of practice, but you get with practice. Okay, so faux calligraphy now. I know a lot of people think of it as fake calligraphy, like faux fake, but it's that because you get the same appearance of regular calligraphy, you're just kind of doing it with a few extra steps. It's really not fake calligraphy. I'll even give you like a little insider secret. A lot of calligraphers do more faux calligraphy than, say, the brush calligraphy that I showed you. And that is because you can do faux calligraphy with any kind of marker, kind of writing tool. Whereas with the traditional calligraphy tools like a brush or the dip pen, you have the ink and the nib. Those need special paper even. So if you're trying to do a big sign for life, you can't use like a dip pen. You need like a big marker. I know Sue earlier was talking about Sharpies are the best markers. So you would use like a Sharpie, but you would do faux calligraphy. So I actually use calligraphy a lot more in my business. So, so yeah, that's why I like faux calligraphy is it's just much more versatile and accessible. So let's go through the steps for how you actually create faux calligraphy. It's the same again. Your upstrokes need to be thin and your downstrokes need to be thick. But for example, if I do it here, so my upstroke and my downstroke, obviously I'm just using a regular pen, so they look the same. So how you make your downstroke thicker is you put a parallel line beside where your downstroke is. You're gonna connect it, and then you're just gonna fill it in. So I'm just gonna fill it in quickly. It's not gonna look the prettiest, but just to give you the idea. So now you can see the upstroke is thin and the downstroke is thicker. So basically that's how you do calligraphy. So for example, the same shapes we were doing earlier, if you have sort of like a rainbow shape like this, You know your upstroke is here, so it would be thin. But once you get here, you start into your downstroke, so you know it needs to be thinner. So you're just going to add an extra line here, connect them at the bottom, and then fill it. So you see how that has the same appearance as, say, with this brush pen. It's the same idea, just one is a fancy expensive brush pen and one is just a regular pen from the dollar store. So that's why I think faux calligraphy is really cool. So let's move on to our word. I'm gonna stick with the same word, so we're gonna do librarian. And the only other thing you need to know for faux calligraphy is when you're first writing out the word, you want to space out your letters. You want to give yourself a little bit of extra space, just so that when you add the extra line, it doesn't become too cluttered or too crowded. So give yourself a little bit of extra space in between your letters. And I'm just going to write it out like I would if I was just writing a note or something to myself. Okay, so again, I'm gonna take my just so it's a different color, and I'm gonna mark off where my downstrokes are. So there's the downstroke. This is coming up. This is a downstroke. So again, doing this just, it helps you remember where your downstrokes are, and it just gets you used to the different letters, the downstrokes are on the different letters. And eventually, the more you write stuff in faux calligraphy, you start to just naturally understand where the downstrokes are. And it becomes second nature, so you don't have to think about it at all. So now that we've marked our downstrokes, we're just going to write the word again. And I didn't give myself enough space here, but that's okay. And again, our words are not going to be written exactly the same, so if yours doesn't end up looking the same way mine is, it's totally fine. Okay, so we know where our downstrokes are. We know we need to make our downstrokes thicker. So we are going to start here. We know that we're going upwards, and this is where our downstrokes start, right at the top here. We want it to blend in. We don't want it to look too boxy, like we want it to be like cut off like that. So we want it to kind of blend in. So even if you want to go over the upstroke again and then just kind of add in that extra line, and you want it to blend in at the bottom here as you start going into your upstroke. So again, start at the top here and then have it blending into your. I'm just gonna quickly fill it in. You can take more time with yours. I'm just trying to give you the idea of what it looks like. Okay, so again, going up here, this is where I start going down. You want to connect it at the bottom and then fill it in. We're going up here, down, and then we come back up. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and add that extra thickness to my downstrokes. Now, if you want to, I know some people try to just kind of scribble and make the line thicker. So you can see that does work. But usually I find that actually drawing out the lines first and then filling it in looks a little bit neater. So if you, and also you want it to be kind of a consistent width. You don't want it to be like this. You want it to kind of, so usually I recommend drawing out the lines and then filling it in. Don't just scribble it. So I hope everyone's doing okay with this. There's a whole calligraphy community out there, so, and we are happy to have more people join us. So, but even if you just take what you learned tonight and just practice that, you can be doing your own calligraphy. So that's kind of what's cool about it, is it's kind of as much or as little as you want.
Yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for coming.